Do you want to know where to catch redfish and speckled trout, snook, and flounder this weekend in your area? Well, the great news is Smart Fishing Spots does it for you. If you haven't heard, we cracked the code on literally predicting where these fish will be every single weekend. In fact, every single day based on real-time trends, tides, weather, wind, etc. This is next level. This is the holy grail for inshore saltwater anglers. So now this Smart Fishing Spot software, based on whatever area you ask it to, and then it takes in all of the different data points that we have and literally shows you actual spots to fish. I'm going to repeat that. It literally shows you actual spots to fish, highlights them. You can actually take the coordinates down and then go fish those spots. And it changes every single week. Unlike those old maps that, have been the same spots for 40 plus years, this is literally changing every week based on all the data that is coming in. There's nothing like it, and this will change the way you fish and ultimately save you tons of time. The best news is it's completely free to all of our insider members. So members, get in there if you haven't seen this new feature yet. If you're not a member, what the heck are you waiting on? Someone to literally show you where to fish this weekend, because that's what we've done. Go to saltstrong.com, join the club, and you'll get unlimited access to Smart Fishing Spots. See you inside and enjoy the show.
It's fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way.
And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing.
Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds, got Luke Simons, like diamonds, got Nick Pavoni, like baloney.
Yes, that works.
Okay, here we go. We're talking about apps, progressive apps versus these native mobile apps. And this is coming up because we just came up with an app. There's been a lot of questions like, hey, I can't find this in the App Store. So I'll start off with asking you a question. What do the following companies have in common? Google, Alibaba, Starbucks, Twitter, some other ones. Help me out, guys. I know
Home
there's some
Depot.
other big ones. Home Depot, some really big names, and Salt Strong all have in common. Well, we all have progressive apps. And so we wanted to do a podcast on this. Hopefully it won't go too long, but hopefully it'll be very, very helpful. Just so you can understand the difference. There's been a shift amongst a lot of these bigger companies who, for the longest time, native apps, that means an app that you would go download, right, from an app store, and then would actually get on your phone. Like if you may or may not know this, but when you download an app from the App Store, I mean, you're putting a lot of stuff in terms of actual storage on your phone. It literally exists on your phone. They're tracking you. There's all kinds of stuff, pros and cons, right? You also get a lot of cool stuff right there on your phone. And that's been around forever. And there's been this shift, though, to take it away from the Apple and the Google stores of the world, the Android stores, and to go progressive. There are so many more pros, and at least from how we're seeing it, that even these big names that I just mentioned, like the Starbucks and Alibaba and the Twitters and Googles, are all starting to play in this space as well with progressive apps. So we wanted to get Nick on here just to explain the difference and why, at least for now, with our Smart Fishing Spots app, it is going to probably remain a progressive app. The biggest one right now is just because we can roll out stuff, I don't want to say 1,000 times faster, but probably 900 times faster than you ever could on a normal app. There's no more having to go back from an Apple software developer and then an Android developer and getting all this stuff done. We're rolling out stuff every day. I mean, literally making changes and updates every day. Whereas normally there would be a crazy slow progression. And you have to get it all approved, and then we have to get it approved by Apple. And then you have to actually manually go into the app and update it, which I just looked. I have like every single one of my apps need to be updated. I haven't done it in forever in the little App Store notification. So anyhow, a lot of reasons we went there. So Nick, why don't you kick it off and let's talk about the difference, just the 30,000 foot view of a progressive web app like Smart Fishing Spots versus a native app.
Yeah, well, I would say from an end user's perspective, the difference is number one, you don't have to go and find it in the App Store. You can just install it right from our site. And then actually, like the resources that are used on your phone are far smaller with a progressive web app than there is a native app. Like you mentioned that earlier, you have to download it, you have to install it, and each one of those apps take up a certain amount of space depending on the features that are in the app. So the more features you have in the app, the larger that size of that file is going to be on your phone or whatever device you're using. And that's why throughout the years, people are installing more and more apps. Apps are getting more features, and phones have to get bigger and bigger. And that's why you upgrade to the next phone. You're spending more money getting a bigger phone that has more storage on it. So with progressive web apps, the file sizes are very, very small. They're essentially using a container of your browser and accessing everything from our server. So all the data and everything's over there. It's not on your phone. The other thing is when you launch the app, you've got a time to actually load this into memory. So a lot of people don't even know that you can close the apps once you open them up. So if you have 30, 40 apps open, just like on your computer, it's using all that RAM on your phone, and it's going to start getting slower. This is like when you switch from one app to the next and it starts to lag a little bit, starts to get slow. With progressive web apps, you don't have that. There's basically an instant, like once you open it, it opens it and pulls down the data right then. So the other thing that is a benefit of a progressive web app over a native app is the devices that you can access it. So there are a lot of apps that you can access on your phone, but you can't on your computer. So with our particular progressive web app, you can access the exact same data, the exact same interface on your computer, any computer, and your tablet and your phone. And if you save something on your computer, you've got it on your phone. So everything's cross the board, across the platform. Performances are about the same. So they're both pretty fast. The biggest thing I think from our members' perspective is I would say rolling out features. I mean, when you develop a native app, you have to have, because there's so much code, you've got two different code bases. You've got Android and you've got iOS, and they both use separate code, unless you get into some other frameworks. But typically speaking, you've got two different sets of code. You've got multiple sets of developers on both sides. When you come up with features, both of those have to be, your roadmap for your application development has to be locked in so that both are in unison with each other, so that you have the same experience on iOS and Android. With a progressive web app, there's one set of code, and that coordination between two teams is now eliminated. So you can roll out features faster, which is huge. Typically, I mean, apps, depending on how many features you have, I mean, it can take 7, 8, 9 months or even years, depending on how much you have. And with progressive web apps, we're able to roll out features really fast. I mean, even within a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, heck, we just rolled out how many different new oyster beds in South Carolina today? Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean, so today we rolled out 118,000 oyster locations.
New ones. Yep.
New ones, yeah. And we've got some new features we're going to roll out. And instead of going through, the development process in both platforms, submitting it to Apple, having them approve it, a lot of times they send back changes because it has to meet their criteria. That's such a long delay. So we've got features that we plan to roll out again next week. So every week we're pushing out new updates, and that gets these features into our members' hands faster. But instead, they're going to be waiting for a year until we have everything done and approved, and then finally it's on there. And then you've got updates that you have to manually install.
Yep. And to me, it's a better user experience. And I believe that's why a lot of these big corporations like the Starbucks, the World, and the Twitter are all building these behind the scenes. So they're basically backing up what they had as an app, and at some point might delete the app and just get rid of the Apple stores and all these stores, because I've had it before, right? I had it at Starbucks. I'm not a massive Starbucks guy, but I was meeting someone there and they had the store was shut down, meaning for walk-ins. You could only go drive-through. We're sitting out there and knocking on the window, and they're like, "Oh, you got to get the app." So I was like, let me just go to the stupid website. So I go to the site, and I literally can't order from the Starbucks mobile site. it was directing me to the app. And I was like, well, man, I don't want to download an app just to get a cup of coffee. So we left. As dumb as that may or may not be. But how awesome would it have been if it was progressive, which is why I believe companies like Starbucks are moving that way, is to have, it's so simple where, if I want to get the app, I could. For now, they do have an app. They might delete it at some point, but it would have been so nice if I could have had that exact same experience on my phone or on my friend's phone that I was with, or on a tablet, whatever it is. And so to your point, Nick, I can get smart fishing spots, and I could be going back and forth from tablet to, my iPad. I mean, my Mac to this phone, and in seconds. And it's all going to be the same experience with the same data. I'm not having to sit there and go to app stores and get it all updated. I love the speed of it. It is so much faster. No more having to wait on stuff and wait on these updates. I've been thrilled by it, because at first I was like, progressive web app, and we were all internally saying, oh yeah, it's so progressive. But it really is. And now it's cool to see a lot of these really big companies moving in this same direction.
And what's happened is, so back in the early app stage, you think about it, they actually had that huge, remember that there's an app for that. That was the whole big marketing campaign. And it's because websites were a different animal. They're on the far end spectrum. And then you had apps. So they trained everyone to think you have to have an app. There's an app for that. That's what they marketed. What's happening is the technology with websites, and progressive websites particularly, are slowly closing that gap between what apps can do and what progressive web apps can do. And there's a shift that's going to happen, because the native apps, we don't know, they have access to a lot of data and details of your phone, even when it's off, when the screen is off. And there's a lot of privacy concerns going on right now. So what's happening is these big companies like Starbucks and Twitter and the ones you mentioned earlier, they're recognizing that there's this shift where there's a privacy concern, and people are going to be switching over to only using progressive web apps, and apps are not going to be considered a privacy concern. And these companies are recognizing that, and that's why they're starting to have a presence on both sides.
It's spooky. Luke, do you ever think you'd be sitting here talking about progressive web apps on a podcast?
No, never thought. And also, I was just going through my phone. A unique benefit of the web app style is that I've been doing a lot of near shore fishing. And so I've been going on using our bottom relief. You can actually see ledges. This goes out, 20 plus miles, and I can zoom in and see ledges. It's easier to do it on my computer. And so I can just pinpoint and click on all the ledges, and I click on the outline of the ledge so that I can import that into my GPS unit. And then when I'm out on the water, I can actually upload that route onto my phone, and now I can actually see it on my phone while I'm on the water, and watch the little boat icon as it goes up to those images. So you can do it on one device. You can make your routes and plan out your spots, and then automatically, since all of the data is being hosted on our server, you can access it through any device as long as it can connect to the internet. So it just takes the load off of everybody's individual phones or computers. We host it, and then you can just access it more efficiently as they're talking about. So something that I really didn't think about as being a benefit until actually using it and realizing hey, this is actually really nice to be able to access this data anywhere from any device.
Yeah, that was one thing that came up, with a normal app, even though you're out of range. Let's just say you're out 20 miles, offshore fishing. A normal app, like let's just say Instagram or Facebook, you're not going to be able to use it. You have stuff that's saved on your phone, right? Because it's literally, as we talked about, it's downloading data to your phone. So you'll be able to see where you were last, but you can't interact with it. It can't send you notifications. You can't do it's kind of worthless. Whereas ours, right? This is a negative. You're not going to be even able to see exactly where you were unless you somehow just save that page. Like if you try to refresh it, it's just going to come up with, hey, you're out of, you don't have any internet access because it is progressive web app. However, there are two ways around this. One is we made it very simple to create tracks, which, we've done. And I think Luke's working on a video showing how you do it in a Garmin. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways to do it with different brands, but in the matter of a couple quick steps, you can make any route and pinpoint very precise GPS spots, like different ledges, which we've already done and it worked. very well, and then export it into your unit. And now you have it. You don't even need to have your phone sitting out there 20 miles out. The other part, though, is Nick has been looking into a couple options for people in that situation. Obviously, if you're inshore fishing in most areas, you're going to have some internet access. There's some satellites where if your phone works, basically you're able to use a progressive web app. But for those cases where you're offshore and you really want it, we are going to come up with some workarounds where it can download a little bit. We don't ever want to have the entire app on your phone for the reasons we mentioned previously. It just sucks up a ton of space and it slows the whole thing down. And to Nick's point, next thing you know, you got to get a newer phone because you got so many apps sucking up so much of your RAM. But with this, you'll be able to take little pieces of it that you need for like that trip and still be able to have it on your phone. So stay tuned on that one. But yeah, the biggest one is we looked at all of the things that we want to bring to the Smart Fishing Spots app. We're in the very, very early stages. I know a lot of people have been blown away with, it seems like every 2 weeks we're coming up with something kind of big and new. It started off with, the app in general and the 3D underwater view. And then we rolled out the oyster beds and seagrass. And now we just rolled out the smart spots that literally pick like legit fishing spots that our fishing coaches have handpicked with the help of a little bit of artificial intelligence with, all the trends. And I mean, like, so we're just getting started. And the worst thing we want to do is have all of these cool features held up in development of an app, guy or gal for Apple or Apple itself saying, well, hey, we didn't approve this, or, this doesn't meet our standards. And all of a sudden we're waiting 3-4 months for something that we can do in 24 hours. And so that's what you're seeing. And that's why you're seeing so many updates so fast. And I'm sure there's probably some apps out there in this fishing space that are looking at us saying, how the heck are they doing all this? They must have 15,000 developers. And no, that's the beauty of this web app. We got one super strong ninja, Nick, and it was in a supporting staff for Nick, and which is not that big. And we're just cranking out as many updates as we can. And it's only possible because of a progressive app. Now, at some point, it might take 2 years, but we might hit a plateau. And by then, I don't know, maybe progressive apps are even everyone's going that way. But if not, if it's flip flopped again and all of a sudden native apps are the place, we might look at it at that point. Once we have something that's really kind of built, and it's not going to have new updates every week. But for now, we are going to stick with this progressive app. So to summarize, you will not see Smart Fishing Spots in any app store anytime soon. You will find it very simple to use and completely 2 steps basically. I mean, you just put it in your phone and log in, and you're also logged in for a year. I mean, so if it's a year membership, which is the Insider Club, which all members get it for free, then you're logged in forever. So, I mean, we've been playing around with this for many, many months, and I haven't logged out once. It's always kept me in, and it's been quicker than my normal apps. And really, really neat how this whole thing works. So that's your 30,000 foot view of a progressive web app. We realized a lot of people had not heard of it. Even some of our own team members, like, all right, let's get here and walk through this.
And one thing to note too is that I used to think that only the little icons on the front page was a traditional app. I thought the only way to get on a homepage is to have like the one tap load was to have a traditional app and download it and go through that hassle of having to re-download updates. But it's really not. It's really easy to just get the icon for the web app on here as well. It's not through the Apple Store or through the Android store, as Joe mentioned. It's literally just straight from our site. You can go there and we have directions on how to do it. It just takes 2 seconds, and it's a different way to do it on the iPhone versus Android. But it's really easy. It doesn't take any rocket science. And once it's on there, as Joe said, you just tap on it, and it instantly pops up. So really cool that it looks, acts, and feels just like a regular app, but you don't have the hassle of having to do all the upload, the downloads, I should say. And it's just it just takes a couple clicks or taps, and it'll be right there on your homepage. Yep. And you can even put pins or put icons for your favorite sections of it as well, right? If you really like a specific, I actually have a couple here. I'll show you. If you go to a certain area more often than others, you can actually pin the tide charts for that area where it's just one tap away from your home screen. And there you can go through and quickly see the tides, right? Much more efficient than having to open a tide app and then scroll through and figure out the tide station you want. Just put put the ones you use most right there on your home screen, and it's one tap away. So just a lot of efficiencies on this kind of new age web app platforms versus the traditional native apps.
That's awesome.
Good idea.
Can't do that with a native app, can you, Bob? Yeah.
Maybe after 6 months of development,
If you're lucky, like 6 years.
But yeah, it's just because we were going to do a full app for a full native app, and just the more benefits that we've seen with this web app platform, it's just quicker. It feels the same. There's very little difference as far as the user experience, and it's just much more efficient to deliver awesome new features, and to actually have it more efficient to tap, put as many icons as you want on your home screen, where it's just easier for everybody. And I think I bet like probably 5 years from now, the native apps are going to they're just not needed, just given the hurdles that is required to launch those things.
Yeah. So let me sum up the conversations that we had, because we were all a little bit naive, right? Just think, oh man, this it's an app. It looks cool, and so many people had asked for it. Just because that's Nick, you nailed it on the head, right? We've been trained for all the advertising years. There's an app for that. Like that was something that everyone of our generation has heard and knows about. And we've heard it a billion times. There's an app for that. And so we went down that path. And here's how the conversation went. All right, guys, cool. Yeah, I love what you've built. We can definitely put that on, both the Apple, the iOS, and the Android on the Google Store. And we're like, oh, awesome. All right, well, what's it going to do differently? Nothing. Well, is it going to look differently? No, it's going to look the exact same as you've already built. Oh, cool.
And it's
how much is it going to cost? Yeah, $100,000. All right, so for $100,000, and by the way, it's going to take 6 to 12 months. So wait a minute. So for $100K in 6 to 12 months, you can make it look exactly like it already is and how it already works, and just copy it to the App Store. That seems stupid when we could take that same money and put more features like we're doing in here. We're going to be putting a whole lot more inshore, a whole lot more nearshore, and even some really cool stuff on the offshore. So we're just getting started with this. And as we talked through it and met with some developers and just looked at the pros and cons, we're like, it literally makes zero sense. And hopefully that kind of like hits the nail on the head when you hear it that way. If we got an app, just to make sure you're clear on this, if we went and got an app for smart fishing spots, let's just say for Apple, a native app where you could go get it in the store, it would literally be identical. I still have, as Luke said, the little app icon right here on my phone. Like, you would never know. So there would be literally nothing different, except it would now be downloading a lot of data to your phone and taking up your space versus our server space, right? And yeah, I guess you would have a little bit of access, barely a little bit more, if you were 20 miles offshore, but we're about to change that. Otherwise, there really wouldn't be any difference. It would be a little bit slower, and certainly you'd be slower to get updates. So that we should have just led with that. That could have been the whole podcast. But hopefully that makes sense. That's why it was just a complete no-brainer to go this progressive web app. So
yeah, and for anybody who's seen this bottom imagery, you probably can't see it much on my phone. But there's just so much data that makes this up, because you literally can go. I'm zooming way in on some. This is literally the bottom, about 15 miles off of St. Petersburg. You can see the actual ledges, and those are all individual tiles, right? There's millions upon millions of tiles. To load this to your phone would probably break most people's phones. So we host everything. We have legit servers that handles it all, and then you can use whatever device you want to access it just much more efficiently than you otherwise could. So yeah, it's been shocking, because we actually did a native app a few years ago, and just we're kicking ourselves because we were just fooled that, oh, we have to have the app, it has to be on the Apple stores and to work well. That's not true at all. There's been so many just upgrades and these web apps where it's the same feel to the user. The only difference is how you get the icon on the homepage of your phone. That's literally the only difference. Once it's there, tap on it, and you can put as many icons as you want. Tap on whichever features you like best or you're interested in at the time, and it's one tap and you're there. And so like we're just like kicking ourselves for going down that native app. We wasted a lot of money on that years back. So we're not going to do that mistake again.
So give you guys and gals what you need as quick as possibly and as fast, right? Without having to put it on your own phone. And as you said, Luke, there's no way with all the data that we have that's coming. And this app is updating like every 15 minutes. I mean, it would be crazy to even ask you to put that on your phone. So progressive apps. So hope that answered some questions. And if you have questions on this, let us know. Post a comment down below in the blog post at saltstrong.com if you're not there already, and let us know any questions you have. Or if you're in the community, that's where we spend a lot of our time. Go to community.saltstrong.com and let us know. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, just go to saltstrong.com while you're logged in as an Insider member, and the instructions right there. You literally click a button, you save it to your phone screen, just like any normal app, and then you log in, and you're logged in for a year. Pretty cool. I mean, it's super, super simple. And if you're not a member yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Someone to grab you by the hand and show you where to fish every day? Because that's exactly what this app does. And this is just a small piece of the Insider Club, right? I mean, this club's been around for over 5 years, and this app is just one of the newest things that we're doing to help our members save time and save money. So we got tackle discounts. We have obviously all kinds of tips, mini courses, and smart fishing game plans. We're doing spot dissections and fishing a new spot every single day and reporting back everything. Like this stuff you cannot find out there on YouTube. And now with this app, it's a no-brainer. We just had our best month ever in company history just from this thing coming out. I think so many people were on the fence about joining, and this came out like, okay, no-brainer. And that oyster bar thing was the first one. It just all of a sudden, huge spike. And then the smart spots, another huge spike. So if you're not joined yet, do it while you can, because we will be raising the prices soon. But don't worry, if you're an existing member, you're grandfathered in, not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, but for life. That is our promise to you, is once we raise the price, anyone who's locked in is locked into that annual rate for forever. And then only new people going forward will have the higher rate. So a big benefit to getting in now while you can. That's at saltstrong.com. Luke, Nick, anything else?
I think that's it.
Cool. Covers it.
Yeah, thank you, Luke.
A lot of new things we're adding too. So there's a long list of upgrades we have to it, new features. And as we said, you don't have to re-upload anything. As soon as Nick hits the button, they'll be available right on your device, ready to rock.
Yep. And one more thing, like we accept all feedback ideas from members. So any members that have ideas, in fact, we've pushed some of them already live. So any ideas you have, send them to us and we will add them to the list.
I was going to say, you look really progressive in that black shirt there, Nick.
I was going to wear my turtleneck, but it's
that would have been good. That would have been good. And end of the day, success. You guys see it?
Oh, we see it.
Capture the dream. You heard that from Blades of Glory? Capture the dream.
Oh, geez.
Like, I love it. Where do you come up with it? Because it just comes to me, and the whole screen behind him says "Capture the Dream." So, capture the dream, everybody. We appreciate you, love you, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Capture the dream.
'Cause fishing, it's in my